Hello everyone, welcome on my website solution.com. Today I want to talk to you about something that is so dear to my soul, so close to my soul. Um, the template of sacred relationships and divine partnerships and conscious relationship, and I'm on this path for many years now. I I I dedicated a lot of my energy and a lot of my life into studying this, and also I have a very personal experience. It's I'm going to talk to you today about what I lived and the conclusions I came into from my personal experience. And I think we are in a very important moment on the planet right now where it's time to finally can embody and can bring here in this dimension the template of sacred relationships and the template of divine union between masculine and feminine. With everything that happened this year, I'm talking about 2020 and the pandemic and everything. I think and also everything we did in the last decades, all the purging we did at a collective level, I feel we are in a point where we've purged enough of the collective programs, we've purged enough of the distortions between masculine and feminine that are coming a long way back. And we cleared so much on the collective level that the sacred partnerships and the sacred relationships and the sacred unions between masculine and feminine will just start to happen more easier than until now, easier and faster, and they will have more support on earth in this dimension. So I talked in the other movie, and I invite you to see the other short movie that I did about twin flames and soulmates and wholemates, and my story, my twin flame story, and my perspective about how these energies are getting played out in this moment on the planet. So I invite you to see that. And today I'm going to talk about the template of sacred relationship and what a sacred relationship means from my perspective, and the work we need to do to be able to hold this template here on earth. I think this is not an easy path, but if we have it, we cannot somehow run away from it. So we have it in our DNA. We came with special codes in our DNA that will just activate everything around us on the frequency of sacred relationships. And as long as we have this deep longing in our soul, we are here to embody that and to manifest that and to bring that into manifestation, and to bring this possibility into becoming real here in this on this dimension and on this earth. So for me, in the first place, what a sacred relationship means is a relationship that is aligned with our higher self and with the divine, and is aligned with higher service. So it's not a selfish love, and it cannot be a selfish love. Is a love that is aligning us with who we really are in our essence, and is a relationship through which we are invited every day to serve the divine, to serve something higher than our small selves and our personality. At the same time, it's a relationship that can and it's harmonized in all the layers. Also in the higher realms, but also here on earth, on the human realms. So it's harmonized from paying the electricity bill and doing the shopping list from this level to the level of being aligned with our higher self, serving from the higher perspective, putting ourselves into higher service, putting our relationship into higher service, and everything is aligned from human to divine, and it's harmonized and can be supported and embodied and sustained here in this dimension on all these layers. So um, up until now on the planet, we had to struggle with many patterns that love is not possible on earth, and many of us who have this in their soul and in their heart, who have this deep longing for sacred relationship, we needed to transmute this pattern. That is not possible, that we have huge connections in the soul with people for whom we feel great love, but that is not possible here. And I think we did a really great job in transmuting this. And I think now it's time to bring those sacred relationships that can be sustained in all their aspects, from human level to divine level to higher level to higher self to human self, everything in union and beyond separation. Um, Talking about union, those sacred relationships are the ones that are bringing in real union the real divine feminine with a real divine masculine. And for this, we needed to purge, and we did a really hard and amazing purging in the last decades about the purging all the distortions between masculine and feminine that are playing out in the collective for centuries, all the ways we've been in war with each other, all the ways we've abused each other, all the ways we perpetrated each other, all the ways in which we kept each other at distance. And this is the era that is just closing, and it's time for bringing in union inside of us, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And it's time also for asking and offering forgiveness to each other. And I'm doing this in my relationship now with the partner I have. We did a ritual, and we're doing this all the time when we feel to really to ask for forgiveness from the way I wrong the masculine, and he's doing this from the perspective in which the masculine wronged the feminine. And we really need to do this from our hearts and to bow in front of each other and to ask for forgiveness for everything we did to each other along the centuries, and for all the ways we harmed each other, for all the harm we inflicted upon each other, for all the ways we've demonized each other, and we consider the other one is the abuser, the perpetrator, for all the ways in which we become the perpetrator of the opposite sex, and honestly, from this deep bow at the level of the soul that we need to do in front of the other, of the opposite sex, and in front of the other. Um, from this point, we need to ask to to be purged from all the distortions, all the dark energies, all the deeply infected templates that were affecting us for centuries, that were making us and were tricking us into believing that the other is the enemy. And so we started to fear each other so much, and we started to fear the closeness to each other. And honestly, men and women, I think we are we long each other so much, but we are so afraid to admit that, and we are so afraid to come in into more closeness, because we're afraid we're going to be hurt, and we're going to be abused again, and we're going to be devastated again by the other. And this is a distorted template we need to purge once for all. And the purpose of the sacred relationships is to embody the real divine feminine and the real divine masculine, so we can purge all these distortions, all these wounds, all this trauma from the collective level. Oh, it's such a big job we've taken upon ourselves, but it's a sacred job. It is a sacred path. And once we get to purge all this, we can come into downloading the real template of masculine and feminine, and to bring those energies into union inside ourselves, and then to create heaven on earth with the other person in the relationship. And then we will feel what a sacred relationship really means. It's about getting out of codependency, it's about coming into interdependency. It's such a huge step, it's such a huge difference between those two concepts. It's such a different energy in which we don't rely on the other person because we are whole in ourselves. We have the masculine and the feminine into union in ourselves, and we just share with each other the who we are into the wholeness of our essence, and we celebrate each other, and we empower each other to be our higher version, and we just support each other to become our higher version. And this is a very important aspect how we're doing that. We are doing this also by keeping each other accountable for the parts of ourselves that are not aligned with who we really are. And this is a very important aspect in sacred relationship. It's where we don't indulge into lower aspects of the other. At the same time, we don't judge the other person for his wounds, for his traumas, for the parts of themselves that are lower than the energy of the soul. So we don't judge them. At the same time, we don't indulge them. Also, we just hold them accountable, and we are a very clean and very into truth mirror that we can keep in front of them, so that they can see themselves in the highest light, and after that they can bring that highest light into their lower parts, into their wounds, into their traumas from this life, from other life, from multidimensional aspects. And in this way we can go higher and higher and higher, and we can go at the same time as we go higher, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and we can serve more and more from this point. Um, this is so different that what we knew until now on the planet. This is so different from karmic relationship and from relationship that are coming from old contracts that need to end in this moment on the planet on the collective level. It's completely a new stage, and I think we did a lot of purging, and many of us, they stayed for years alone, not being in a relationship, with this higher purpose of purging a lot of the old template of relationship. But now we are, I feel that on the collective level we have a green light to come more and more into manifesting this on earth. So what else is to say about sacred relationships? Sacred relationships are somehow, they have a highest path that is guided according with the higher path of both souls. There is a divine synchronicity in when they come together, and also there is a divine synchronicity when the relationship maybe has to end in this dimension. But this relationship, the sacred relationships, are ending when the sacred purpose was accomplished. So they are not ending from traumas, they are not ending from projections on each other, they are not ending from, you did this to me, or and you did that, and you're not good enough for me, or I'm not good enough for you, or they are not ending from trauma, they are not ending from trauma and drama and everything that we know in the old paradigm. If there is a moment to end, they are ending because the highest purpose of that relationship was done, and the divine service they needed to do together is over, and they need to move on the higher level and on separate paths maybe. So there is a completely different perspective, because everything is aligned with the soul and with the higher self, and everything is guided from that level, and everything can be easier and with joy and without clinging, and just in allowing that relationship to be the most it can be, for no matter how much time everyone needs that to happen. At the same time, sacred relationships are a sacred space in which two people can trigger each other a lot. So, because it's a safe container and because it's a sacred container, in that safe space and sacred space, all the wounds can come to the surface. And it's very important how the two of them are dealing with this, because it's very important not to react from a wounded place and not to react from a wounded self. And it's very important to catch ourselves and each other in the moment where we start to regress into our wounds, and just to breathe deeply and to allow our higher self to come into play, and to allow our higher perspective to come into play, and then to help each other to hold the space for healing those traumas and those wounds and those parts of ourselves that got triggered at some point. And it's the fastest way to healing. A sacred relationship is the fastest way to healing, because in a sacred container that is formed by the two souls, as long as there is safety, there is trust, there is clarity, the two of them can bring into that container everything that is to be transmuted. So this is also a very important aspect of sacred relationships. This sacred container that is offered. and the help that we can offer each other to transmute our wounds and to heal our wounds. So this is a new stage we are starting on the planet, and sacred relationships are um, the most the most one of the most important aspects that can help this planet raise this vibration. So, and although it is true that on a certain level every relationship is sacred because it will mirror to us everything we still need to heal, or it will mirror to us parts of ourselves where we need to go into the higher perspective. So, although it is true this, at the same time, there is something um, there is something new that we need to download now about relationships, and this is the new template. And whether we are creating the sacred container in a twin flame connection, or in a soulmate connection, or all in or in another type of connection, this template of sacred connection has the same characteristics that are like pillars. They are big and strong pillars for what we need to build here on earth over the next decades. So let's receive the divine feminine and the divine masculine that will guide us on this path and will help us to transmute all the patterns from the old template of relationship and step into this new magical territory where we can create the relationship we deserve, where we can embody the relationship that will help us to express the highest version of ourselves. So be it, and so it is.